red dots for waterfowl. So I've been toying around with the idea of red dots on shotguns for specifically waterfowl. I know people use them for turkey, but I kind of wanted to explore a little bit of what it would take to set up and use a red dot on a shotgun specifically set up for waterfowl hunting. Bottom line up front, they're worth it, but personal preference is going to be the deciding factor. What I mean for that is anything that I chose may not work for you. So realistically, your preferences, you need to think about what you want to do to set up your shotgun that fit your needs and your preferences. So I'll just jump into the two shotguns that I have sitting here. And I know the first obvious question that everyone's going to ask me is, what is wrong with your 1187? Because this is not supposed to be over here. I'll get into exactly what happened here in a minute, but my initial look at a shotgun that had a red dot on it was just to find something simple and I guess you could say cheap. Nothing that really I was going to be upset about if it didn't work and I didn't know what to do with. So I bought a plastic saddle that sat over my 1187. This will also fit an 870. And then I bought this Amazon red dot. I don't even remember what actually it is, but it is a very cheap red dot. I mean, the spacing on this rail mount, because it doesn't have like every single one of the normal rail mounts on it. I can't even use one of the screws. I mean, like this was not the most well thought out red dot system, but it worked and it was functional up until this happened. And it's better just to show you exactly how I found out that this was a problem. I mean, it was rather comical at the after the fact, but at the time it wasn't so funny. So yeah, I actually did manage to capture the incident on camera. So we're gonna take a look at that so that you guys can experience exactly what I did.
The f happened?
Ultimately, what ended up failing is the brazing on the end of this recoil tube assembly. It's also the retention for the stock, so when the brazing failed, everything came straight off the back of the gun, and we were back to square one. So I needed to come up with a mounting system because I no longer had a mounting system for a red dot on any of my shotguns. I mean, if I had an 870, I could reuse this, but I don't have an 870 or another Remington 1187, so we were absolutely back at square one. And mounting is probably one of the most difficult things to start with, because at the end of the day, there's a few options out there. They are not universal. They are potentially only for certain models. And some of them require permanent modification to your shotgun. And again, I really wasn't willing to deal with that. So I chose something that was universal and that I could, if I really needed to make sure that it wasn't going to permanently modify the firearm in any way. So important disclosure before we start talking about any of the actual parts themselves is that I have no relationship with any of the companies that make anything sitting on the table in front of you. I have 5 subscribers as of the filming of this video. I do not own a business or sell any of these products. I'm not advocating any of these products. I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm just talking about a concept. And I want more people to explore this idea, so I'm not really going to go into depth about what the products actually are. And I mean, because this could be entire videos in and of themselves. I just wanted to kind of touch on what the things that you're going to hang up on are, what are some of the pros and cons, and I'm not ultimately trying to convince you that you should do this, but I would like you to take a look at it if you feel like this is something that could help you, because ultimately I do think it is a little bit of help for at least making sure that you're taking good ethical shots when hunting. So with the disclosure kind of out of the way, let's get into the cons. And again, that mounting system is part of one of the first major cons that you're going to run into with a red dot system, and that's zero retention. So this specific mount is made by Meadow Creek. It's a universal mount, and you can get different top plates and different designs to fit whatever red dot mounting style that you choose. But at the end of the day, I put this on here because I wanted a universal fit. I wanted to be able to put it on anything. So if I wanted to be able to put it on this shotgun or any other ones that I have in the future, or well, I should say buy in the future, or any of the shotguns that I currently have, I wanted to be able to take this and put it on there. But this did end up biting me once already in the field, because I lost zero. This started moving around and I didn't notice it because it wasn't like openly rattling, but under recoil this would move, and you could actually sit there and move this back and forth. And now it's not doing it because I've properly torqued this thing down and kind of vetted out this sighting system, but this definitely moved. And when I did that, I thought I had rechecked zero well enough, but it really wasn't all that great. Pattern was shooting probably 6 inches to the right, possibly even more than that, at about like 20 yards. And I found that out after I came back from a hunting trip. In fact, there was a shot on a gadwall that I thought there's no way I missed that shot, but the bird flew away as if nothing had happened. And the only thing I had to show for what I thought was a great shot was a single broken feather that flew off the tail of the duck. The missed shot was somewhat frustrating, but I mean, it wasn't an insurmountable issue. So tightening down this, reconfirming zero, everything started settling down again. So I mean, zero retention is a problem and can be an issue, but it's not an insurmountable problem. So that leads me kind of into the next con, which is more weather related. This red dot right here is an open emitter type, and this one is a closed emitter type. So open emitters, if you get water or anything down in the hole here, you won't be able to see, or potentially won't be able to see the dot, or it'll be blurry or occluded, full of dirt or whatever. You just may not even see it. So that's a choice that you're going to need to make, is whether or not you want to somehow try and protect this. And if you have a cap for this, like this one came with, good luck keeping that and not losing it in the field. So why even bother with that and go with a closed type? But it is a choice. If you go with a cheaper open red dot, you might end up losing your dot, not because the battery died, but because something is blocking the emitter from actually reflecting off of the lens. And then that also segues perfectly into the next major con, which is batteries. So now you have another thing that you have to keep with you in the field. Potentially there are ways to mitigate the issues of the battery, being like shake awake technology. And I mean, the batteries on certain power settings will last for almost forever, but it's still, it's always going to fail when you don't want it to, right? So the battery is going to give up when you don't want it to. You can replace the batteries before every hunt week or weekend or whatever, and that's fine. I mean, batteries are relatively cheap. They shouldn't be that expensive unless they're some proprietary battery. But again, it's another thing that you have to carry with you in the field. And for the most part, like I said, most of these cons aren't really insurmountable. You can get around the battery issues, the mounting. Once you figure it out and you get the quirks nailed down, it settles in and you can continue to use it without much issue. I mean, the emitter type, you've already made your choice. It's just whether or not you can deal with it, or you can find a red dot that'll work for you. But again, none of those are really insurmountable. I haven't found an issue that I would just call this completely unworth it. Like I said, I'll just keep kind of saying this. I think you should try it, because realistically, there's nothing that's on here that just makes this completely impossible to make a functioning system. So with that, I'm going to start to get into the pros and end on a high note, because again, I think this is worth it. So one of the pros, but possibly a con, is the choices of red dots and the choices of colors and reticles, and there's so many choices out there that it's also awesome and daunting at the same time, because if you look at all the options out there and you start thinking about it really hard, you can get yourself into essentially analysis paralysis, where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna choose these dots and I want to make sure that I can measure distances with the dot. And when you have a 65 MOA dot at 40 yards, that means that circle is 27 or 28 inches. And okay, that's pretty busy. That's all well and good. But if you don't have the comfort with the system, that circle dot may not be good for you. A simple dot might be better. So the choice is a blessing and a curse all in the same. So I think what you want to do is keep it simple to start with, and then add only after you've really vetted the system. And that's kind of what I did. Is I kept it simple. I realized that I liked it, and then I went to something that I thought was more useful, which was the 65 MOA circle dot. But that was my comfort level. Some people, in fact, I'm going to attempt to. I'm not going to attempt to. I'm going to change the reticle setting to just a dot, and the next time I go out, just to compare the two, because I like the dot on this one, and the circle dot sometimes seems a little busy. It's useful, but busy. So choice, again, is a blessing or a curse. The other major benefit that I've had, specifically with this setup on the M2, is more of a heads-up position in shooting. So rather than having to get my cheek perfectly aligned down the barrel and having like that little bit of rotational influence on point of aim, point of impact, if I get my head close enough and I can see the dot within reason inside of the circle of the lens, I can fire and be reasonably comfortable that even if I don't have a perfect mount, that shot is going roughly where I intended to. So I think that heads up shooting position is a little bit better because it's less sensitive. There's been a few times where I've shot a buddy's shotgun, and how they have the mount set up made it difficult for me to repeatedly shoot consistently. And I've noticed specifically with Benelli shotguns, the way that they sight down the rib rail is they actually want a little bit of an air gap between the barrel and the intended target, because they I think it is better for shooting, but at the same time, like, how big does that air gap need to be? And the imprecise nature of that kind of makes it sometimes difficult to use that sighting system. But once you understand that Benelli makes their barrels like that, you shoot a lot better with them. But at the end of the day, I think that this is less sensitive to how you mount the shotgun because of the fact that you can see that dot and be a little off and be okay. You don't have to be lined up very well and understand how good of a mount you have to make a decent shot. So I think that heads up shooting position is actually a very great benefit. And to complement that is the more precise aim point. The dot gives you a very precise point of aim. Now, again, you're like, it's a shotgun. How precise can you be? And you can actually be reasonably consistent and precise. The dot is trying to put, you're trying to put that dot in the center of your pattern. And because this is mounted pretty securely and you have it down, that's not floating around. So even if there's some variation from shot to shot, wad to wad, shell to shell, you're going to be reasonably close to the center of the pattern every time. And with a bead sight and your sensitivity to mounting, depending on the shotgun and how comfortable you are with it, that you could have more error just with a typical bead sight than you would with a red dot. So I think that when you have a heads-up shooting position and a more precise aiming point, and then possibly a couple other references like with the circle reticle, I think that this is going to make you a better informed shooter of what's happening because it's less sensitive. There's a more precise aiming point, and I think all around this makes for quicker shots from bringing it up to your shoulder, flicking the safety off, and breaking the shot. I believe that I am slightly faster. Now, this doesn't replace good decision making, but I am slightly faster. I shoot about as well as I do normally with the red dot, without the red dot. But that's, again, because you still have to choose the lead. And if you make a poor choice with where to break your shot, you're still not going to hit the clays. So experience is necessary. So this doesn't solve all your problems. It can make things easier for you. And I think it is an absolute, it is something that you absolutely should try at some point. So through the magic of editing, this is about the point where I went completely off the rails and started rambling. And in the interest of time, I need to wrap things up because this video is already longer than I intended it to be in the first place. Major conclusions from this are you can hurt yourself with a red dot system if you don't set it up and vet it properly. So you got to take the time to set it up. One of the things that it won't do is it won't replace good decision making. So practice. You need to go out and practice. You need to go and shoot. So if you have trouble hitting birds, spend some time breaking clays and make sure that you're comfortable with your system, you're comfortable with your shotgun, you're comfortable with just shooting in general. I absolutely am not going to claim to be a great shot. And I think that practicing before season is a necessity. There's very rarely a time where I won't spend at least 2 or 3 sessions before I go out hunting just to make sure that I've knocked the rust out, because to be entirely honest with you, I'm not the best shot with a shotgun, and I believe that this helps. But again, this system doesn't replace good decision making. So I think that this is worth your time, and I think you should go out and attempt a setup like this, and then you can come back and let me know what your thoughts are. Or if you've already tried this and you hated it, let me know why you hated it. Would this setup be better? Is there something else that you found that could be helpful in vetting some of the issues here? This is by no means a set in stone topic. This is going to continue to evolve, and there's going to be more product offerings, and this concept will keep kind of kicking itself around for a while until either somebody makes something that's so groundbreaking and earth-shattering that it completely solves all the issues that we had, with any of these things, and then it just becomes the standard. Or people give up on it because they decide that it's not worth the time, and then it just becomes another failed concept throughout time. So, I mean, only time will tell. But again, I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.